Hey everybody, Bobby Medina here with my buddy Paul Barron, and today our guest is a trumpeter, engineer, and founder of a very interesting company called Vennture. He holds a bachelor's degree in chemistry and math from Amherst College in Massachusetts, and he received his master's degree in engineering from Cornell University in New York. He started playing trumpet when he was just 8 years old, discovered Maynard Ferguson's album Primal Scream, and the rest is history. Doug has played with lead with big bands, cover bands, and all sorts of ensembles. He's also enjoyed feature solo work as well as some musical theater pit work. Vennture is a brand new company, but it's the result of years of dreaming, planning, testing, and development. Vennture was formed to reimagine the way custom mouthpieces are made. They're very intentional about bringing together software, physics, machining know-how for the good of brass players everywhere. So welcome, Doug McVey, and may the fourth be with you.
Thank you very much, Bobby. That's a great intro. And yes, happy Star Wars Day. But when you proposed that as a date to do this recording, I said, "Yep, that I know that date." So yes,
thank you. That's the story behind it.
Well, welcome. I'm going to throw out the first question, Doug. Brand new company, as Bobby said in the intro, but tell us about Vennture and what the goals are, because you have a different direction that you're taking with this company that's unusual and really exciting.
Yeah, well, so Vennture, as you said, it's years in the planning or the imagination. And my goal was always to be really, really quick at going from a physical article, so something that someone's playing, scanning it into the computer, being able to manipulate it, and then being able to send it to a lathe to be cut, and sort of shrinking that time cycle. And the reason I care so much about shrinking that time cycle is it makes custom work a lot cheaper and easier and more responsive. But it also makes it much more economical and sort of powerful to develop our own stock lines as well, as you've had some experience with. So yeah, my goal was to bring together, take what someone is playing right now or some well-known mouthpiece, scan it to the computer, be able to manipulate it in the computer and get it back out to the lathe, either as a copy or, with modifications or completely new design in as short a time cycle as possible. And that may not sound like a lot to most people out there, but traditionally, even when you use CNC, there's quite a bit of time that it takes to digitize something that a customer brings in. There's time that it takes to do the design, and then encoding it for the lathe takes anywhere 15, 20 minutes, half an hour, perhaps longer of messing around in some kind of CAM software. So I wanted to do all of that with sort of one button click. That was what I was after. And now I'm in the phase of figuring out how best to use that technology to, as you said, serve brass players, And one way, of course, the obvious way is I can make custom work, the most obvious way is I can make great copies. I say that I offer a money back guarantee if you don't think it plays like the original, minus any scratches. Custom work, of course, I can scan whatever you're playing now or a couple of things that you're playing and combine this rim with that cup very easily. But more recently, we've been using the technology to develop our own stock lines. And the reason we need that technology is, for this lead trumpet mouthpiece line we've been working on, the ability to scan a bunch of classic designs, think about them, draw new stuff, make them, send them out to a panel of expert testers, of which you two are, have been participating, and then based on the feedback, very quickly tweak and create new models, different models, and get those out for testing. So that sort of iterative feedback type of design is really enabled by this technology. So Vennture is about that technology of scan, design, and cut, and using it, in all different ways.
So beyond scanning, do you have a whole bunch of profiles of like a lot of standard mouthpieces that people play then, or?
Oh yeah, I mean we I have my library has a few hundred pieces in it of different makes and manufacturers, and originally my thinking was that would be just about enough. Is that most people would find something that either they were playing or something they had played as a starting point, And it is useful to have all those sort of on file anytime I want them. But for different manufacturers, sometimes, a 3C today is not the same as the 3C that I scanned in originally. And people really want to know, the thing I am playing, and if it's been modified, if it's custom, if it's rare, if I haven't ever scanned it, the next iteration is, figuring out how to get better at scanning more easily. It's a quick process. It only takes a few minutes to scan a mouthpiece. But the next goal is going to be getting scanners out into the field so that people can scan them, that mouthpiece fitters can scan them out in the field, so it doesn't require a, several day UPS round trip out of your hand. So yeah, I have a background or a library of stock models from different manufacturers that I've scanned, archives of, custom one-offs that people have had made in the past and that I've scanned into my library so that they can modify them. And then of course, the sky's the limit. Any new model I see, if I can borrow it for 5 or 10 minutes, I can have it forever.
Very cool. Well, explain what VennCad is and how it works.
So VennCad is this, if you think of this as a 3-step process: scan, design, and cut. VennCad is the middle step. It's the design step. I bring up the scans that I've made, and I'm able to do design work in a way that I think is intuitive. So it doesn't require necessarily a CAD background to be able to start to use the tools even to tweak your own. And VennCad is downloadable off the internet. The current version that's up there is a little bit dated. On my to-do list is publishing version 3. But people can download it for free and click through some of the scans that I already have. And if they send me a model to be scanned, I can give it to them to, bring up in their own copy of VennCad. So I can give you a little demo if you like of
Sure.
some of the features that we've been making use of.
Yeah, that'd be great.
That's how we do design here. So let me bring up VennCad here, and I'll show you a couple things. Let's see. What do we want to see? Well, for example, let's open up my personal model that I've been using recently, the LC1D. That's my personal favorite. So this is what I'm playing every day. And so, you might say, well, how does that compare to other things? Like, for example, the Yamaha Bobby Shoe Lēde, right? And so right away, the white is mine and the brown is the Yamaha Bobby Shoe. You can start to delve in and make some observations. The cup depths are similar right here. Mine is a bit smaller inner diameter. As you can see, mine's got sort of a wider, more supportive rim. The outer rim looks similar. The inner rim ends up being wider, making the whole thing a bit flatter, because I got a lot of feedback about we want it flatter. And this is something I've learned about professional lead players. I mean, at least, we got a pretty good sized sample, 9 professional, touring, type of lead players, all of whom seem to like stuff that's flatter than most of what's out there. And for all the beating on the forums that people, about, don't use a cheater mouthpiece, use a giant mouthpiece and build up your chops. Well, the pros who actually do it night in and night out, they use small, efficient hardware. This I have learned, as I do, So if you enjoy using a smaller mouthpiece because it facilitates that upper register work, don't feel bad or less than, because everybody else is doing it too. So anyway, VennCad here, if I, had someone try out my personal model here and they said, okay, well, I liked it, but there's some things I'd like to change. I can show you how I would change it. So for example, if we start with, let's bring in that Vennture model. LC1, backboard D. So here's mine. Let us copy over that design. And, if you said, it is really efficient already, I'd like it even shallower, right? I can go in here and say, well, make it shallower like that. You see that in the purple?
Yeah,
So
I
now,
can see that.
yes,
There you
yeah.
go.
so
Yeah.
now the white has just gotten shallower by however much you want. You know, you can say, you know, oh, I really would like it in a bigger throat size. So I can say, all right, how big do you want it? I have it at number 28. You might say, oh, I prefer it at 26. And then boom, if you look in the purple, it automatically opens it up and blends it nicely. So now it's shallower and with a bigger throat.
So, Doug, a question. So, when you make that one adjustment, I'm assuming, or I'm seeing, I guess, that it blends it and it makes that adjustment like it's not a severe, change. It blends it in with what's still existing, right?
Exactly so.
I don't know if I asked that question very well.
No, that's a very good question. And the idea of blending. So, you know, in design, they call these fair curves. That's the sort of it's an industrial design term for flowing curves. And pretty much VennCad works with Bezier curves, which were invented by, I don't know, Fiat or somebody for modeling, you know, the car profiles. You know, they're not radii and straight lines, they're flowing curves, because that's what mouthpieces really end up being. So everything here is about keeping it, as you know, Gary Radke, the great designer and machinist, would say, you know, keeping it zero discontinuity, right? So, for example, you know, if you said, oh, that throat, that, you know, although the cup is now, you know, shallower, I would like the throat entrance to be more generous, right? I can go between 2 points and say, all right, let's keep the throat where it is, but let's keep the cup where it is, but open up the throat entrance a little bit. And here again, you see, you know, like you said, about keeping everything blended nicely. You know, so now we have a slightly more generous throat entrance. Again, everything being blended together. And the component parts of that design, you know, now I don't want to go too deep down the rabbit hole, but the component parts of that design, they are Bezier curves, and every single one has a slope that you can play with, right? And parameters that you can play with to, you know, change out that way that it smooths in and out, you know. So you can make anything you want, but pretty much the only logical way to talk about mouthpieces is in contrast to something that you already know, right? Here's what I'm playing now, but it's too sharp on the inner rim, or I want it sharper on the inner rim, or I want it bigger, so, you know, smaller, round. You can't just, I can't just start sketching in space and say, this is going to work great. It always has to be relative to something else.
Sure.
So the ability to move those curves around easily like that, and then fit backbores to them, and then fit whole outer profiles, you know, wrap them all in a blank like this. And now in VennCad version 3, you can actually look at this in 3D. And check out how it's going to look. The cool thing we can do in VennCad is change the weighting of the blank. You know, you can have a heavier or medium weight, you know, or lightweight version of the same basic shape. So some people, you know, Danny Falcone, I'm thinking of you, who are very picky about the particular weight, can tune it in just the way they want.
Down to the gram.
He's like, you know, he asked me to make a thing. He said, you know, my and I probably won't even mix my mouthpieces have to be within this many grams and this many plus 2. So, all right, we'll get that right for you. Remember, a gram is about the weight of a paperclip. So, it's, you know, with a lot of lead players I've found, there's a lot of princess and the pea kind of, you know, tolerances, which is good. I mean, you know, that's fine with me. That's why we have the software, to be able to hit those tolerances.
No, absolutely. Some of the things we've found also, what's so cool about it, like you're talking about a starting point and profiles that exist. We found in giving our workshops, Paul and I, or doing joint teaching and stuff with people, that they've gotten away and they've gone down the rabbit hole and they're not happy. And maybe as they get older, even sometimes teeth shifting and things change. And when they go back to their original mouthpiece, maybe that they had when they were, let's say, in college or something like that, it really feels great to them on their face, and it's like an old shoe or whatever. But there's things that might need to be tweaked, and I think that's one of the real pluses about this. It's like you always need to kind of go back to home base.
Absolutely, yeah.
And this is a great way to start and go from there.
One of the things I always say is, what are you playing now? What do you like about it, not like? What did you play in the past, and why aren't you playing it anymore? Because I want to know what that trajectory through time and space. Why are you playing a smaller mouthpiece today or a bigger one, or whatever's different about it? Why did you decide to switch? Why haven't you switched back? Maybe you want to switch back. Or is there some different properties from each that you want to combine into something new? Because as you said, it's an evolving process, right? We're not machines. Our teeth move, our bodies change, our technique changes, the music we play changes, and our musical taste and how we want to sound to ourselves changes. So if that target's always moving, and it should be, right? That's what it needs to evolve and to live as a musician. Well, then maybe our equipment needs to change too. If you're not changing your sound concept and the music you're playing and the things you like, well, then why practice at all? Why? Because you're trying new things. Well, you might need new equipment to support it. So yeah, of course, being a mouthpiece maker, of course, a mouthpiece safari is always a good idea. But I think I don't really believe that. I think that practice is number one always, of course, but I think the people would say, just pick any old mouthpiece and just practice. Well, I don't know about you, my time is scarce, and I want to get everything out of it I can. And I invest quite a bit in, when I'm practicing, a lot. I want to make sure that I'm not handicapping myself by, some poorly fit equipment. So
exactly, or the school of thought that's you can do everything on one mouthpiece. Well, it is possible to play high on a deep mouthpiece, but it's not the same kind of focused sound that might be, that you want with it, for playing like a Vegas type of lead show or something, as opposed to playing something legit or orchestral or whatever. It's not, I don't think there's such a thing as a cheater. It's changing your sound and enhancing what areas, what kind of sound you're trying to go for.
Well, absolutely. The audience doesn't care that I just hit that note on a 1C. They don't applaud extra hard. They just want it, the audience and cares that it sounds right. And if it sounds right and it's in tune, then it doesn't matter what tools you use to get there.
Well, and when you equate this like to sports or whatever, whether you're I don't know, a scuba diver or a baseball player, whatever. Bats have changed. We got aluminum bats, we got wooden bats, we got different, designs. Scuba today is nothing like it was 50 years ago or whatever. Yeah. So it doesn't. It's just like you want to use something that's going to help you with your job.
So, Doug, I'm curious, how much knowledge, how much knowledge does somebody have to have, computer and technique and all that, to be able to manipulate and use the VennCad? Well,
there are some help files in it to help out a little bit. I really need to release some videos on, some tutorial videos. But to answer your question, right now, it runs in Windows, or it runs in Parallels on Mac if you have Parallels. That's another thing I want to do, is get a Mac version out someday. I think if you can, surf the internet, you can manipulate VennCad. And I've tried to lay the tools out to be pretty user friendly. There's a limited number of tools, but getting good at using them takes a little practice. And but if you have a particular goal, I want to make the throat bigger, I want to make the thing shallower, you can find the tools to do it. But on the other hand, it's just as easy if you like to, give us a call here at Vennture or email. We can set up and we do this, all the time, every week. There's time set aside for consults where instead of, me demonstrating on any old mouthpiece for you guys, it's a customer who has sent me a mouthpiece, I've scanned it, and then I'm showing them their mouthpiece, and we're walking together through the changes that they might want to make. So, they say, they tell me about their playing, they say what their ideas might be. And I say, all right, how about this? Here's another mouth. You say, you played on a 13A4A, this is it. You said that was too shallow. What if we go halfway in between where you are now and there? How about there? Okay, stop. And then they say, okay. And then, off to the Lēde it is.
Wow, fascinating. So do you have a stock mouthpiece line?
So we're just starting to release this. We actually, the stock mouthpiece line we released a few months ago is, I think, the finest mellophone mouthpieces made anywhere. And that was sort of a test balloon. I just had to figure out the whole mass producing and, everything we make, we are the machine shop. We don't outsource these, but just, efficient ways of batch processing, all that stuff. And, packaging and e-commerce setup. We sort of worked all those details up. And then only just a month and a half ago, we decided that we would do the project that I've always been passionate about, which is a line of mouthpieces specifically for lead trumpet. And that, I mentioned a couple of times, it's in the background behind me, the Lēde line. And it's a complete line of 11 models, 11 cup models and 4 different backbores designed for commercial, lead, musical theater, the commercial side of the instrument. And yeah, it's been a labor of love and it's been an exciting project. In the future, the classical line, I've been working a lot with John Kaplan and I talk at least once a week, sometimes more, from John Talks Trumpet. And he's a symphony player. He plays giant toilet bowl mouthpieces like they all do, that I can't play effectively. But he's sent me dozens of mouthpieces to scan, seeing what all the orchestral guys out there are playing. And we've talked, often about, classical design. So that's what's next. Lēde is coming. June 1st is the release date that we're targeting. And Lēde, as I said, even though it's a stock line, there are a few special things about it, I think. So if you are a lead trumpet player, or, you play commercial music, you play in a cover band, you play Earth, Wind, and Fire, that kind of stuff. A lot of Latin music, salsa music. These are very, very, very good pieces for that, I think, in my opinion. If they're not good, you can blame all the testers in the beta test group. It's all there. No, I'm kidding. No, so that process has been very intentional. It's not just about a magic design. I think we're past the days of one lone genius going into a lab and coming out and saying, this is perfect for everybody. This was intentionally a group effort. I know what I like. It turns out the rims I like are sharper than what most people like. It turns out that, I have preferences. And rather than impose on everybody, I gave it to a panel of experts, yourself included, and said, give me some feedback. And I got all kinds of feedback about rims, about cups, about, maybe a model in between this and that, maybe this wider cup with a shallower, more efficient design. And all of that went into design what started as 9 models, turned to 11, and then with 4 backbores. So what's different about these is, A, they were designed think about Martin Committee, right? The Martin Committee horn. That's kind of that same idea of there being a committee of experts, right, to work on something. This is that same philosophy, coming back around, which is, it's designed with feedback from a bunch of, top touring pros. They're going to be available in both 1-piece and 2-piece. So you can get a solid one. I like 1-pieces. I don't like things that unscrew. But you can mix and match any of these cups and backboards together as a stock.
Let me ask you that, because I've heard this from different people, and I'm just curious as to why you don't prefer a 2 or even a 3-piece mouthpiece. Can you give us a little insight into that?
Sure. Well, the short answer is, the story answer is, I was at a gig actually the other day, an outdoor gig, playing with a New Orleans style brass band, right? And I'm outside and the wind's blowing and I'm having a good time. And in between sets, I'm warming up a little bit and I hear click, 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 click every time I move the valves. And it's maddening. And I unscrew the valves and see, are the valves properly screwed in? Or, like the top bit of, are the valve caps, the bottom caps, normal weight bottom caps. I'm not a heavy bottom cap guy. I check everything. I check it twice and I'm about to pull my hair out. And finally I realize, somehow I have jostling the horn out and I've unscrewed very slightly the Yeah, I just don't like it because it can unscrew with enough force. And if you bump it against your face or something in the middle of a song, it's never happened during a performance, but I just don't want it to happen. You know, my thread work, I think, is very nice and very smooth and good at, you know, staying on, but still, it's a thing that's made to unscrew. I prefer the stability. You know, when it's properly screwed in, it's fine. And I will say, you know, in the process of testing the lead line, which we've done with tops and backboards to enable us to test different tops and backboards as combinations, I have grown to like them better than I did. I still think my everyday player is going to be a one-piece version. But of course, you know, the ability to change tops and backboards, you know, and for different situations, I see the convenience in that. So, you know, I could definitely imagine if I'm a consumer, you know, I might want 2 different cup sizes depending on the particular register I'm in. But you know, for a particular horn, I may want 1 backboard rather than buy 2 complete pieces. You know, it'd be more economical to buy, you know, 2 tops and a backboard. I have no plans to ever thread a rim. And the reason for that is just because it's more work than just making another top. For me, you know, manufacturing wise, making a shank, we make it out of thinner stock. So there's a little bit of material savings and time savings and whatever, but making an underpart like you'd use for a screw rim, you know, there's just as much machining to just go ahead and make that rim, you know. And I think the use case is really people, you know, once they find the rim they like, and, you know, they might change it on top of the backboard, but just, I haven't found the use cases to justify the investment in the rim threading. It's a lot more machining, you know, to do. So the top and backboard, you know, the Warburton style screw top 3/840 screw top and backboard, I think work great, or the one piece. And actually, we have designed the lead blanks now, and the one piece and the 2 piece are indistinguishable. They're the exact same weight, you know. Danny, and you cannot tell the difference between them when they're screwed together. So the 1 piece and 2 piece look identical.
Do you have any plans for the future for maybe, like, I know there's other manufacturers and we've talked with a few other people, and there's other materials they're making tops or rims and tops out of, you know. And I guess there's pluses and minuses. I can't really speak to them because I've never really played them, but I'm just curious.
Well, so, you know, with enough arm twisting and enough begging and probably a surcharge, unless it's someone I really like, you know, we can make, you know, plastic, you know, we make, you know, Delrin and stuff, tops. I've made Delrin whole mouthpieces. I can make stainless steel, you know. The hardest part of machining a mouthpiece is the backboard, especially for me, because we single point backboards. We don't use reamers and shape tools to cut backboards. It's bad enough in nice machinable, you know, free machining brass. Stainless with those single pointing is treacherous and horrible. So I have no plans to ever make a full mouthpiece out of stainless. You know, if there's a lot of value to someone in getting a top made, I guess, you know, but we have so much tech already that adding more moving parts by adding different materials is not something that we plan to push a lot in the near future. Free machining brass, people, you know, if stainless really does sound different, and, you know, some people swear that it does and some people swear that it doesn't, it haven't achieved much market penetration. So it's more of a, you know, if it is that much different, I know it's harder to machine, I know it's a pain. It's easier to finish because you don't have to plate it. You know, there's no cyanide, no super fun cleanup site situation. But yeah, we have no plans to aggressively chase other materials in the next, you know, 1 to 2 year time horizon.
So what's the process in, I'm sorry, I'm going off script here, Bobby, but I just wanted to ask about the process of copying a mouthpiece.
Okay, yeah, copying. So basically, you know, again, if you think of our 3-step chain of scan, design, and cut, we just skip the middle bit. So a customer would send me a mouthpiece, or as I said, someday when I get scanners out into the field, that's the summer 2021, you know, into the fall, the project is to multiply and recruit and train fitters to get scanners out of our shop and into the field, different parts of the country, et cetera. So the customer surrenders the mouthpiece either via mail to me or to a putative future fitter. Scan is made in about 5 or 10 minutes, and then I just send it directly to the lathe. I have my CAM software, which is the part of that is not public, turns that scan directly into cutting paths. So yeah, the scan, we trace the cup, measure the throat, the outer diameter, the overall length, the backbore. We do not currently copy without a severe overcharge or surcharge the outer blank design. That I'm not well set up for. So you sort of can choose from our menu of a number of different, as you saw, different weight, heavyweight, megatone kinds of lightweight, the stair step model, the Bach looking model. We have a number of different choices, but we come up with a blank, we come up with whatever engraving we want to put on it. We make our scan and it's off to the races.
That's very cool. It's looking forward to checking more of this out here and sharing it with everybody out there. Encourage you, we often talk about trying different things, but having your own mouthpiece as a starting point is a great way to get started, and I think this makes a whole lot of sense. So Doug, thanks for spending this time with us. Here you've got got our head spinning, and you've covered a lot of ground here, and for introducing everybody to your mouthpiece company. What's the URL there?
So it's venture.mp, venture with 2 N's, like Venn diagram, venture.mp, like mouthpiece.
Great. We'll make sure we add that to this, and when you have your next line, we'll have to bring you back and let you talk about that a little bit as well.
Definitely. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thanks so much for being here with us. We really appreciate it.